We were underway, and all of a sudden I hear this sound. It's really strange because it's clear that what is going on is something is whizzing by us, and it's moving so fast. I just can't believe it because this submarine is limited in the speed it can go by the incompressibility of the water in front of it. And this thing blew by us like we were standing still. Now, I'm not going to throw anybody else under the bus here, but I guarantee you the following happened. A person with knowledge of onboard systems came out and said, "Oh my God, this goddamn thing is going faster than the speed of sound underwater, but that's faster than the speed of sound in air."
Chris Lato, welcome to Lato Files. Welcome to the channel. I had an amazing interview with Science Bob McGwier. Bob McGwier has a ton of experience with classified missions on nuclear submarines and Navy ships. In the interview I had with him on UAP Society from last week, he talks about two amazing encounters. One was from the USS Hampton. That was a nuclear submarine while they were running away, right? Running away deep and fast. He's not allowed to say how fast or how deep. He tracked something that went by supersonic speeds through air, and that is underwater. Amazing story. His second story talks about the USS Blue Ridge. This is a lead ship. This is a famous ship actually from Saigon. You may remember it. He talks about it. But from the bridge of this ship in the middle of a typhoon with 50-foot seas, he sees an amazing sight. So very interesting interview. Very happy to be acquainted with Science Bob McGwier. Thanks for being here. Please smash that like button, comment, and subscribe, and support the channel at patreon.com/Chris Lato. Thanks for being here.
My interest began in 1998 or 9. I'm going to forget which, but I'll tell you the story.
Okay.
I was a rider, what's called a rider. That means I was on a submarine, but I was not a member of the crew. I was an intelligence officer, and I was doing intelligence operations on board the USS Hampton. Now, I'm not going to tell you what those operations were because it's classified. I'm just going to state that I was on board. And there was a time when we needed to, let's just say, leave the area quickly where we were. So we left the area quickly. We went out in the middle of nowhere, and we were running deep and fast. And deep and fast are both classified numbers, so I won't be saying that.
Yeah,
and
what is it like on a submarine? I've never been on it, man. It just seems like just an amazing piece of technology. You know,
yeah. So if
I've
people,
never seen one actually.
The one picture that people can see of me on the sail of the USS Hampton can be found on qrz.com, and if you do a search for N4HY, you will find a picture of me on there. Search for N4HY, and you will find a picture of me on the sail of the USS Hampton that's me on the sail of the USS Hampton, leaving wherever I was. We were just headed out to do our operation, and you can tell from the bow wake that we are full speed ahead.
Oh,
and that's my Institute for Defense Analysis ball cap on my head. And the captain took this picture while we were underway. So shortly after this, we went under, and we stayed under for a while until we had to leave where we were quickly. So while we left, we were underway, and it was between my shifts. And all of a sudden, I heard something really strange. And there's depth gauges on the walls, a lot of places inside a submarine. So I knew how deep we were. And I could tell, because being a person with a full-blown security clearance, I got to go aft into the engineering compartments. I got to go inside and see where the reactor was operating. And that's number one. And number two, which I won't talk about, but in addition to that, they explained to me yes, that's the Hampton. They explained to me how the screws are kept quiet. So the submarine is hard to track. And it was amazing technology. Okay, so we were underway, and all of a sudden I hear this sound. It's really strange because it's clear that what is going on is something is whizzing by us, and it's moving so fast. I just can't believe it because this submarine is limited in the speed it can go by the incompressibility of the water in front of it. And this thing blew by us like we were standing still. Now, I'm not going to throw anybody else under the bus here, but I guarantee you the following happened. A person with knowledge of onboard systems came out and said, oh my God, this goddamn thing is going faster than the speed of sound underwater, but that's faster than the speed of sound in air. Nothing can move faster than the speed of sound in air underwater because water's incompressible. There was no cavitation. It was just weird. And so there you go. That's my story about the USOs.
That's amazing. Yeah. So I have so many questions there. Obviously, a lot of classified stuff. My first question is, can you tell a submarine is going deeper or shallower when you're in it? You know, if you're
yeah. Because you feel this when it changes the bow angle, and you can hear the screws change speeds. And if you're in the right place, you see a depth gauge. There's a depth gauge. There are depth gauges all over the boat. You can read how deep you are from the wall and in the compartment you're in.
And when you say you saw it go by,
no, I heard it go by.
So were you next? I mean, the sonar guy. I mean, how accurate is this hearing? Could it have been anything else? Could it have been like?
Let's say it this way: the sonar is extremely accurate.
Excellent. And so, could it have been anything else? I guess moving faster
not moving at that speed,
or some issue with the detector. The sensors. Basically, what would Mick West say? And
I do not know the answer. I don't, but I don't believe it because the people who are saying this were submariner sensor experts.
And I guess what was after that? Did they mention anything about it? What did the other people say about it?
We should report this. Nope. Didn't want to hear about it. Didn't want to report it. Didn't want to tell anybody. Didn't want to cause any problems. Didn't want to disrupt our mission. So when I left there with the knowledge in my head, not having been told to be quiet, not having been told it was classified. So I will not discuss the classified portions of this mission. But when I left there, my knowledge of what happened was unclassified, and it's mine to tell wherever I want to. They blew it. So now I can talk about it because it's completely unclassified.
And I guess how long did it go on? Like how long was the engagement?
Oh, it couldn't have been more than a few seconds because it blew by us and was gone.
And was there any other indications?
Or just, it didn't return.
Only sensor indications? There was no indications?
No, because we were too deep for anything else. These submarines can go faster and deeper than most people realize. I will not tell you what that is because that's classified.
But so you're saying that while extremely deep behind enemy lines, or at least in a place you are not privy to mention, you saw, using the sensors, something going the speed of sound underwater.
Yeah, speed of sound in air underwater.
The speed of sound
without cavitation and without being crushed.
Yeah,
because water is incompressible, especially at those pressures.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's as hard as steel.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. Have you shared this before? Is this the first time you shared it online?
I shared it on Vinny Adams to a lesser degree than this.
Excellent.
He did not get all the details you're getting, not even close.
Yep.
This is the first time I'm just blowing it wide open. And I'm sorry. And I'm sorry. In a private conversation, which was off the record, I told Ross Coulthart this story and some others.
Cool.
And I'll just tell you the outcome of that conversation. Two things happened, one pleasant and one unpleasant. The pleasant thing that happened was Ross says, "Oh my goodness, Bob, whenever you get ready to write your biography, I want to be the one to write it." Okay, that was the first thing. And the second thing, my now ex-wife overheard the conversation, and it was a major contributory factor toward me having an ex-wife.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. She did not care for these stories.
Well, excellent. Let's hear the second one then.
Okay.
We can.
So in 2008, I went on the USS Blue Ridge. I was doing we were doing port calls all along the Eastern Asian coastline on the Blue Ridge, and that's common on the Blue Ridge because it is the flagship of the 7th Fleet, which is based in Yokosuka, Japan. And it's a helicopter gunship, a helicopter carrier, and many people will remember a very iconic video that happened at the end of the Vietnam War, where a helicopter landed on its deck and was shoved off the tail of the deck after it unloaded its passengers, which it had brought from the American embassy in Saigon. So, the helicopter was shoved off the tail of the USS Blue Ridge. Okay, so I'm on the Blue Ridge doing port calls. And again, what I'm doing on the Blue Ridge, I will not say because my work was classified. But rest assured, I was there. And while we were going up and down going from Thailand all the way up to Vladivostok, doing port calls all over in 2008, for a little over 3 months, we went through a typhoon, and the typhoon had 90 knot winds and 40, 50 foot seas. I mean, it was rough.
Crazy.
And people were puking all around me, but I was too excited. I didn't get seasick. I was excited. I wanted to look outside and see what I could see. And I was on the bridge. So I was right up there underneath the American flag, looking out the windows. And so that's when I noticed that even though we were in a typhoon and it was raining like mad, there was no rain hitting the ship. No rain hitting the ship. And I'm going, what the heck? And I looked out the window and looked up, and I could see a glow above us in the sky. It was not very bright, but I could see it. And whatever it was blocking off the rain from the entire ship, stem to stern. Okay. And
you remember where you were on the ship? Can you see the screen?
See those windows? See those windows right up top, right beneath the flag?
Yeah,
I was in there looking out the windows.
Oh, cool.
Okay, so I believe I was on the port side, and the reason I say that is because I took a peek outside, and I could do that because I was leeward. In other words, the winds were from behind me, and the bulkhead of the ship were blocking the winds, so I could look and I could look up easily. So anyway, it suddenly grew brighter and took off straight up, and the rain returned.
And the rain returned.
And the rain returned after it was gone.
That's just an amazing story. So you're basically on this ship, which is you're up in the top there in the bulkhead, I guess.
Yep.
Excellent. Is that the cockpit?
Yeah, that's the bridge.
Okay, cool. That's the bridge. Excellent. Yeah, and so what got you to go outside? You just wanted to go outside, or?
Well, and so the bridge is actually a couple of decks below, and this stuff up here has this stuff up top, so you can easily go back and forth. So the bridge is below that, and this stuff up here has electronics and stuff in it for interacting with all these antennas and other things you see around. And so the bridge is actually slightly below that. And I was looking in. See those? I'm sorry, I've got the story. So those 3 windows in the front.
In the front?
Down.
Yeah.
Those 3 windows. That's where the bridge crew looks out. And and so and to the right of that, you see this little emblem on a door. Keep going to the right. Keep going to the right. Right there. That emblem. Yeah. That is the door where you go in from outside. Go beneath that's where you go in from outside into the bridge. So these people that are above that emblem on that little they can go in and out of the bridge from a door that's right there.
Oh, I see. Okay, cool.
Okay, yeah. So whatever I was doing, which I'm not allowed to tell, took place inside this cupola where those windows are.
Okay, cool. In these windows here, yeah.
Yes, the windows up top is where I normally did my work.
Okay, I see.
And the bridge is down below, which is where I was looking out.
Okay,
So
cool.
I attempted to run up and go, because you can go inside the superstructure up to
Yeah.
where I was. I attempted to run up there and see if I could see anything, but by the time I got up there, it was gone.
Okay, so you basically saw it from here. You're basically
Yes.
looking out one of these
Yes,
windows.
yes. Looking up, and then I ran up and looked out, and by then it was gone, and the rain had returned.
Cool. So basically, you saw so in this massive typhoon. So you look outside, and you basically notice no rain on the ship.
Yes, and so I'm looking across the bow, and well above the bow, I can see a little glow. I couldn't tell what it was, but I could see this glow, and that's just the bow. So above the bow, up in the sky, I could see a glow, and there was no rain falling on us.
Okay. So you're basically seeing out here some glow with no rain.
No rain.
What did you see? Did you see a ship or an object or anything?
All I could see was the glow. I couldn't, because it was the dark of night, and we were going through a typhoon.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, all I could see was the glow, and the glow increased. And when the glow increased, it took off. And I think the bridge crew was so concentrated on the horizon, because that's the only way in a seas that horrible that you can be out and amongst it and not throw up. You have to stand there and look at the horizon, or your ears go crazy and you get seasick. Okay, so they were doing that, but that was also their job, is to make sure we didn't hit anything while we were underway. All right, so, and then I saw the thing glow and increase in glow and take off. That's all I saw. I saw no ship or superstructure. I only saw this glow that blocked off all the rain.
And so what was the color of it? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was yellowish, and it got brighter and whiter right before it took off. And it seemed to cover the entire bottom.
So it's like it just, yeah, that's interesting. So I'm trying to visualize it. You're basically looking out the window, and you can kind of see through the rain because there's no rain, right? And you see this colored orb.
Yeah, and so I mean,
or is it an orb? Is there any shape to it at all?
No. It looked like the lights were on a flat surface.
I see.
Oh, but again, I couldn't see the surface because we're in the dark, and what I see is the light. I couldn't see the surface or whatever was behind these lights.
I see. Did you get any
they glowed brighter?
Size?
When they glowed brighter, it took off.
I see. And then the rain came.
And then the rain came back. To me, that was clear. It was clear as the logical inference of all of that says it was a gigantic craft that took off. And we were underway, and it maintained its position right above us for quite a while.
Yeah, how long, I guess, did it go on?
It was minutes.
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 So you were looking and looking. Did you mention it to other people? Like,
no,
hey,
I may have said something, but look, in the excitement, you're in the middle of a typhoon. The ship is going up and down. I'm hanging on for dear life. Okay, and I just, I may or may not have said anything, but I don't remember. I just know what I saw. That I'll never forget.
It's amazing.
So I later told the intelligence staff what I saw, and they didn't want to do anything about it. And so again, this is, we didn't gather any evidence. Nothing happened to the ship, so there's nothing to report. So we're not going to report it. Because if you report an incident at sea, of a near miss or whatever, they send an investigative team, and they didn't want that to happen.
You never do, because they always find something you don't want anywhere.
Exactly. They don't want you. You don't want them snooping around and finding crap you don't want them to find, and then give you a bunch. And let me tell you, the Navy has zero defects. The command officers, they are in charge of and own all responsibility on the ship. So if an incident happens, they own it. If the Navy gigs them, they're gone, because the Navy has zero defects.
Zero defects.
They're fired instantly if something is found wrong.
I believe it. Also, there's just so many laws. Well, the Navy is different. I remember I did Navy pilot training, just undergraduate pilot training. And I remember the Navy basically says what you can't do.
Yes.
Yeah. And correct. The Air Force says, so you can basically do kind of everything else within reason. But the Air Force says actually the opposite is what you can do. So you're very limited. So
yes, in the Navy, of course, you got to remember the Navy has a serious responsibility. Their job is to project force anywhere in the world. So they are constrained as to what they can do so as to not start World War III.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And
what is your take?
And it's constantly guarded nonstop by an entire fleet of ships around a flagship or a carrier. And the USS George Washington is the carrier of the 7th Fleet, and this is the flagship. And so the chief, the highest ranking officer in any fleet is never on a carrier. He's off on a flagship, and both of them are protected by submarines and surface vessels whose only job is to keep the bad guys away from them.
Well, thank you, Bob, and thanks everybody for coming.
I want to thank Chris for inviting me and apologize for being 2 minutes late. I accidentally meant to sleep. And he woke me up. I'm glad we got together.
It's awesome. I'm glad my computer worked. It reset 8 minutes prior, and then you weren't there yet. I was like, "Oh, the show's not going to work." But man, it was an amazing show, Bob. Thank you so much.
Please have me back on. I'm a big fan of yours. Big fan.
Thanks, everybody. Definitely. Thanks for being here. Hope you enjoyed it. Smash that like button, subscribe for future content, and join Patreon at patreon.com/Chris Lato, or click the little button right here that says Patreon. Hopefully. Have a great day. Peace.